Hi guys, welcome back. Today is a great day because I am being allowed to change the oil on the Precious. This is an unmodified 2005 Ford F-350 6-liter diesel truck. This model doesn't have a great reputation for reliability, but has worked really well for us so far and has earned another oil change. You guys, I am really excited about this. I have never changed the oil on anything before in my life, so I'm going to be doing it for the first time, learning as I go. Probably going to make some mistakes along the way, but if I can manage it by myself, I'm going to be super thrilled. If you'll follow me, we're going to head to the back of the truck where I have set up everything I'm going to be using to do the oil change. So this is the stuff I'm going to be using for the oil change. I got my ratchet and sockets over here, the filter. The truck needs 14 liters of oil, so I've got 3 liters of 5W40 synthetic oil right there. Back here, you see I've got my brake cleaner and blue shop towels because changing the oil is messy business. And over here, got my oil pan and my funnel, and of course, messy business, so coveralls and gloves. I've also got this ladder because I'm small and the truck is big, and I might need it to reach inside to the filter and the refill and the dipstick. We'll see. Also, I got my water jug because it's really hot and it's important to stay hydrated. I've got everything I need, so it's time to get started. First thing I have to do is open the hood. Find the latch. Ooh. It's got cylinders. Well, that's cool. I don't have to find that stick thing that holds the hood up. There's my filter. And to the left, the refill, and back over this way is the dipstick. Ready to get started? Just need a quick wardrobe change. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the oil filter cover, which is right here, kind of back in the middle under the hood. So I've got my ratchet and my big socket, which is 36 millimeters. So make sure it's set to open and not close. And ooh, there it goes. You want to make sure you have a garbage bag or something really close by so we don't get oil on anything important. It sprung. Okay. Alright, I'll figure out how to get that off in a minute. But when you remove this, it kind of opens a little trap that allows the oil that's in here to drain into the oil pan underneath. So it's important to do this part before you open the plug underneath to the oil pan. Alright, let's see if I can get this off. It's just clipped in, you have to pull it. So now that the oil that was in the filter housing is drained into the oil pan, it's time to go underneath the truck and open the plug on the oil pan and start draining it from there. Let's go! Welcome to Under the Truck. This one's pretty high off the ground, so it's pretty spacious, which is kind of nice. Here is the underside of my oil pan, and it's kind of a little bit back from the front wheels and in the middle of the truck. Right here is the plug that I need to remove to get the old oil out. When I'm loosening this, I'm going to be using my ratchet, and I'm going to try to pay attention to how tightly it's in there, because when I come to put it back in later, it's really important not to over tighten this, because I could strip the threads and then it would leak forever and I'd have to get a new oil pan and that would suck. So be very careful not to over tighten this, so pay attention to the tension that it has in it when you're loosening it. Right here I've got my oil pan pretty close by, so the first thing I'm going to do is kind of crack the seal, get this started, and then I'm going to put the pan underneath. And this is probably going to leak when I start unscrewing it, so I'll try to make sure that the drips land in my pan and try to keep the plug blocking as much as I can while I'm unscrewing, so that right at the end I can pull it out and hopefully all the oil will go straight into the pan. So that is the plan. Let's get started. So the space in here is a little bit limited, so I hope you guys will be able to see this all right. I've got my ratchet here with the 19mm sprocket, and I'm going to make sure that it is properly flush on this to make sure I don't strip it. Make sure the ratchet is set to out and not in, and then just get it started. Alright, and then once it's started, I should be able to do the rest by hand with the pan underneath to catch any drips. Yeah, it's turning. So I'm going to try to keep it up there to block any oil from coming out even as I'm unscrewing it. Okay. I'm just worried to drop the, the bolt in the pan. That wouldn't be so bad. Whoa! Yay! Yay! Look, it's pouring, and I only made a minor mess. And I didn't drop it. Yay! Awesome! Now we play the waiting game and let this drain. So while my oil is draining underneath, I'm going to be productive and I'm going to put a fresh filter in here. So the cap I was able to remove earlier has a seal around it here, which I didn't think of when I was preparing my gear earlier, so I went and got a tool like this to remove it. So we'll just stick under here and go around, and we'll lose it. There we go. There we go. Now I can put the fresh one on. Here is my fresh one, so I'm going to get it on here, same place it was. And obviously it's important that it stays there even when I'm tightening the cap afterwards, so I'm going to take a little bit of leftover oil from inside here and just coat the outside of it just so it slips instead of getting stuck and getting out of place. Like that. I've got my new oil filter here. I'm going to clip it back into the lid because it was clipped in there earlier. I guess you just, that wasn't too hard. And place this back on. it goes. Alright, so I'm going to screw it in as much as I can by hand and tighten it just a little bit with the ratchet. Make sure the ratchet is set to in this time. This is plastic, so I don't want to overdo it either, but there it goes. You can really feel when it gets to the end. All set. Alright, so I am back under the truck because I've changed the filter and now the oil seems to have pretty much drained. It's still dripping a tiny bit, but I think it would do that for many days if I just left it. So at some point you just gotta call it, so I'm calling it. I'm gonna put the plug back in and then we're gonna be able to go up and put the fresh oil in. So I'm just gonna give it a little wipe with my shop towel, and I've got my plug here, which I've also cleaned off. I put it back in. Oop. Ready? Look at a little drip. Yeah, look at that. Oh. And I'm going to put it in by hand as much as I can and then tighten it with the ratchet, but like I said before, very gently. We really don't want to overdo it, and it's better to clean it off, tighten it a little, and then when I put the fresh oil in I'll come check, and if it's leaking I'll tighten it a bit more rather than over tightening it right out the gate. So I can move my oil pan now, which is much heavier than before, and make sure that's set to in. Look, see if I can a little bit more. Alright, I think that's about how it was when I unscrewed it earlier, so let's try that. Alright, so it's time to add the fresh oil. So I'm going to start by removing the cap here on, which conveniently says engine oil. So that over here so I don't lose it. And then I've got my funnel, which I'm going to make sure is in there pretty solidly. And I've got my oil. So it's time to get started. You guys know I've got 3 of these because this truck needs 14 liters. Let's see if I can do this without spilling. Oh, so far so good. You may be wondering, as I did, if the truck needs 14 liters and you have 15 liters, how are you going to make sure to only put 14 liters? Well, first of all, these containers are conveniently marked with a little level gauge on the back, so when you get close to it, you can start like paying more attention to that to make sure. And also checking the oil level when you get close to finishing. So that's one container, rinse and repeat. So when you do this, every time, you're going to have 1 liter left. So every 4 oil changes, you only have to buy 2 5 liters. Alright, so just about at 14 liters, I think. So I'm going to check the oil. And you should keep in mind that the first time you start the engine, oil's going to fill up the filter housing, so it's good, the level's going to go down a little bit. This is a super long and wiry dipstick, so I'm being careful not to not to splash it when it comes out. So first wipe it off and stick it back in. To get my measure. So he's pretty much at the max line already. But like I said, we're going to start the engine and it's probably going to go down a little bit, so I'll probably have to top it off just a tad. And you see this wire is really kind of flimsy, so you have to guide it back in when you're pushing the dipstick back in. I'm going to put the cap back on so we can start the engine just briefly so that the oil can fill up the filter housing. Done. Going pretty well so far. I ran the truck for a little bit just to get the filter housing full of oil, and now I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes before I check the oil again and then top it off. So it's been 10 minutes. Time to check the oil again. Off. And stick it back in. Remove it again. Alright. You can see it went down quite a bit. So I'm going to top it off. Open the engine oil cap again. Insert funnel. I'm really going to go a little bit at a time now. And keep checking. Getting there, just needs a bit more. Just a bit more. I think that should do it. Let's see. Perfect. We did it, guys. Change the oil. Don't forget to put the lid back. Alright, so I didn't end up needing the ladder I showed you before. I've been standing on this right here, which is part of the bumper, I guess. Anyways, it's the perfect height for me. I don't know if it would hold up for a person who's much heavier than I am though, so if you're thinking of doing that, approach with caution, but it worked really well for me. Alright, so the oil change is done, but I'm not. Now I have to clean up. So what I'm going to do is use some brake cleaner to clean up my oil pan and funnel, and I'm going to put the old oil in the empty cans I had here. I had an extra one that I brought because I knew 14 liters, you know, the math. And then I'm going to make sure to bring this to a place where it'll be disposed of properly. Usually it'll be the place where you bought the new oil, because most of those places take old oil back as well. Also auto garages or mechanic places like that might take it as well, but make sure you check before you show up with your old oil. So let's get to it. So this actually ended up being the hardest part of the whole process, just because that big black jug was really heavy and it's awkwardly shaped. It was really hard for me to figure out how to hold it so that I could pour without spilling, but I managed it in the end. All done and all cleaned up. It went pretty well. I think I did okay. If the truck blows up on the way home, I will let you know, but I'm pretty sure I got it right. So next time anybody needs an oil change, I'm your girl. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you again soon. Take care, guys. Bye.